Expand your vocabulary with our core 2,000 words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free French ebook before it's gone.
Do you know how to talk about your weekend in French? You'll learn how in just a moment. Hi, my name is Fanny and this is 3-Step French by FrenchPod101.com. In this lesson, you'll learn how to talk about your weekend using le passé composé through a quick conversation. Let's look at the dialogue. As you listen, pay attention to how they ask about the topic and how the other person responds. Tu as fait quoi ce week-end, Corentin? Samedi, je suis allé pêcher avec mon père à l'aube. Génial! Et dimanche? Je suis restée à la maison pour regarder le match. Nous, on a gagné notre tournoi 2-0. Bravo, ça devait être excitant. Let's hear it with the English translation. Tu as fait quoi ce week-end, Corentin? What did you do this weekend, Corentin? Listen closely to the next sentence. It uses the key pattern you'll be practicing in this lesson. Samedi, je suis allée pêcher avec mon père à l'aube. Saturday, I went fishing with my dad at dawn. Génial! Et dimanche? Awesome! And Sunday? Je suis restée à la maison pour regarder le match. I stayed home to watch the match. Nous, on a gagné notre tournoi 2-0. We won our tournament 2-0. Bravo, ça devait être excitant. Congrats, that must have been exciting. Let's look at the sentence pattern. Do you remember how the character said, Saturday, I went fishing with my dad at dawn? Samedi, je suis allée pêcher avec mon père à l'aube. Samedi, je suis allée pêcher avec mon père à l'aube. This sentence follows a version of le passé composé, a past tense used in French to describe completed actions. The pattern we see here is subject plus être in present plus past participle of the main verb plus agreement. Here's how the line from the dialogue uses the pattern. Samedi, je suis allée pêcher avec mon père à l'aube. The subject is je, meaning I. This is followed by suis, the present tense of the verb être, which is used here as a helping verb. Then we have aller, the past participle of the verb aller, which means to go. Finally, the phrase pêcher avec mon père à l'aube means fishing with my dad at dawn. So the full sentence means I went fishing with my dad at dawn. In French, most verbs use the verb avoir to form le passé composé. But some verbs, especially verbs of movement or position, use être instead. Aller is one of those verbs. Now let's look at another example from the dialogue. Je suis restée à la maison pour regarder le match. I stayed home to watch the match. This sentence uses the same structure. The verb rester, meaning to stay, also uses être in le passé composé. But not all verbs work this way. Look at this sentence. Nous, on a gagné notre tournoi 2-0. We won our tournament 2-0. This sentence uses the verb gagner, meaning to win. And it uses avoir in le passé composé. Most regular verbs, like gagner, use avoir to form the past tense. Let's review the difference. When you want to talk about a completed action in the past, in French, you usually use le passé composé. Most verbs follow this pattern. Subject plus avoir in the present plus the past participle of the main verb. For example, on a gagné. We won. But verbs that describe movement like aller, partir, arriver, or rester, and all reflexive verbs use this pattern instead. Subject plus être in the present plus the past participle plus agreement. For example, je suis allé. I went. Also, when you use être, the past participle has to agree with the subject. That means it changes depending on whether the subject is masculine or feminine, singular or plural. For example, if you're a girl, you will say je suis allée, adding an I to match your gender. Now, you can use this pattern to talk about where you went and what you did over the weekend in French. Now, let's look at some speaking examples. Je suis allée au cinéma samedi soir. I went to the movies on Saturday night. Can you see how the pattern applies here? Let's break it down. The subject is je, meaning I. This is followed by suis, the present tense of the verb être. Then we have aller, the past participle of the verb aller, which means to go. If the speaker is female, the past participle must agree and becomes aller with an additional I. Finally, the phrase au cinéma samedi soir means to the movies on Saturday nights. So the full sentence means I went to the movies on Saturday nights. Here's another example. Je suis restée à la maison tout le week-end. I stayed home all the weekend. Je suis restée à la maison tout le week-end. I stayed home all weekend. Let's try one more. Nous sommes sortis avec des amis samedi soir. We went out with friends on Saturday nights. Nous sommes sortis avec des amis samedi soir. We went out with friends on Saturday nights. Another one. Elle est arrivée en retard au déjeuner. She arrived late for lunch. Elle est arrivée en retard au déjeuner. She arrived late for lunch. One last example. Ils sont partis tôt dimanche matin. They left early Sunday morning. Ils sont partis tôt dimanche matin. They left early Sunday morning. Now you know how to talk about your weekend using le passé composé with être in French. And you can move on to the practice. Au revoir!